There's one big question most people wonder about over the first 3 seasons of Rick and Morty. Has Rick Sanchez changed? Is he becoming more caring?
What's that, Rick?
I love my grandkids.
Aww.
Psych, just kidding. My new catchphrase is, I don't give a f.
Much of the humor in the show derives from the fact that Rick is not concerned about the well-being of others, especially not his grandson, Morty. This reverses the trope of the wise mentor, who has everything under control and can generally ensure his partner's safety. In Rick's case, he primarily uses his grandson for his own personal gain, and shows little reaction when this causes Morty horrible pain and suffering.
I'm in a lot of pain, Rick.
Yeah, I can see that. But do you think you'll still be able to help me collect my seeds, Morty?
Are you kidding me?
Rick's tendency to exploit Morty gets more and more extreme, and Rick eventually claims that he only brings Morty on his adventures because his low intelligence serves as camouflage.
See, when a Rick is with a Morty, the genius waves get canceled out by the, Morty waves.
Rick treats his whole family with consistent contempt, disdain, and irritation.
And as far as Grandpa's concerned, you're both pieces of shit.
He dismisses Summer,
Shut up, Summer.
manipulates or ignores Beth,
I mean, your mom could put me in a purse or a pocket, if she really needs me to go.
Nobody needs anything, okay? It's fine.
and openly insults Jerry on a regular basis.
If I wanted to watch someone throw their life away, I'd hang out with Jerry all day.
But despite this, he insists on taking Morty and sometimes Summer along on his adventures, often against their will. We get the distinct feeling that maybe Rick enjoys their company after all.
Experience!
As the show goes on, Rick also starts expressing more concern for their safety and emotional well-being.
That was awesome! Are my grandkids alive?
He even seems to have learned something about the value of relationships and the perils of trying to be above everything, when he says,
Take it from me, Ice. You can't just float around space not caring about stuff forever.
the other Ricks think it's pretty clear that Rick cares about his family, and they consider him to be an aberration for this reason.
You're a rogue, Rick. Irrational, passionate. You love your grandkids. You came to rescue them.
In Season 2, we see Rick experiencing deep emotion. After Rick opens himself up to his girlfriend Unity but she abandons him, he attempts to commit suicide. The time-lapse after his attempt, showing that no one checks on him, emphasizes his loneliness. Rick is gradually revealed to be someone who is in a great deal of emotional pain, and Bird Person reveals that Rick's catchphrase
Wubba-lubba-dub-dub!
is actually a cry for help.
In my people's tongue, it means, I am in great pain. Please help me.
One reason it's complicated to decipher whether Rick is actually changing is that whenever he does feel emotional or close to his family,
Morty, not that I give a but are you okay?
Rick goes to great lengths to hide this from them.
Yeah, I don't care.
Oh, I know. Everyone knows you don't care.
So?
And when he does appear to let out a genuine sentiment, he dismisses it as a joke.
So now you know the real reason I rescued you. I just took over the family, Morty. And if you tell your mom or sister I said any of this, I'll deny it.
He also avoids situations in which he might be forced to express his emotions. His adventure in Anatomy Park conveniently allows him to get out of a Christmas party, and turning himself into a pickle is done specifically to avoid going to a family therapy session. Every time Rick grows closer to Morty or other family members, he finds a way to ruin or reverse the connection that has developed.
I'm not driven by avenging my dead family, Morty. That was fake. I'm driven by finding that McNugget sauce. I want that Mulan McNugget sauce, Morty.
Also, some of Rick's most emotional moments are witnessed only by the audience. We even see Rick crying when he's shown childhood memories of Morty. In this moment of vulnerability, the wall that Rick has carefully constructed around himself is shattered, but no one in the show witnesses this moment, and Rick puts the wall right back up again and discourages Morty from trying to form a bond.
Hey, Morty, you want connection? Go be part of some stupid club like all those dumb Ricks. Maybe I don't connect because I'm the rickest Rick there is.
Early on in Season 2, Rick's character makes a major leap forward by sacrificing himself to save Morty. But again, this sacrifice is something only the audience sees, and Rick will not admit that it took place. He prefers the illusion that he is cold and distant.
But I feel like one of the 64 Ricks, sacrificed himself for me? Maybe? I think.
Shut up, Morty. The last time you felt something, we all almost died. You little piece of shit.
And Rick is clearly successful at hiding any emotional depth he has from his family, since at the start of Season 3, Morty says this.
He left you to rot in a world that he ruined because he doesn't care. Because nobody's special to him, Summer. Not even himself. Damn it.
We see how lonely and miserable Rick is, and how much each of his family members longs for acceptance from him. So we desperately want to see Rick showing his caring side to his family.
I love you, Jerry.
But the show plays with our desire to see Rick openly care, and we're constantly duped into thinking he's expressing genuine emotion when he actually isn't. This cycle is set up in the pilot episode, when Rick gets into an argument with Jerry at the breakfast table and then masterfully manipulates his way out of it by getting his daughter on his side.
This was a good breakfast, Beth. You really made the crap out of those eggs. I wish your mother was here to eat them.
Oh, Dad.
What?
The show continues toying with our desire to see Rick care as Rick turns himself into the Galactic Federation in the final episode of Season 2, after hearing his family express their love for him and seeing the damage he's inflicting on their lives.
Because I don't want him to leave again, you dumb asshole!
Of course, it emerges later that Rick actually turned himself in as part of his plan to destroy the Galactic Federation's economy, and not to help his family. In Vindicators 3, The Return of World Ender, viewers were led to believe that a drunk Rick was declaring his feelings for Morty.
God damn it, why am I crying? It makes no sense.
But he was actually talking about Noob Noob.
Motherfucker.
So where is Rick heading emotionally? He goes through cycles of caring and not caring about the family and everything else, making his notorious character arc
That's my series arc, Morty!
look more like a sine wave. He can fluctuate between caring and not caring multiple times, even within a single episode. On top of this, we get cycles of his pretending to not care when he actually does, and pretending to care when he doesn't. In Rick Talk, Rick caring and not caring at the same time are two equally possible impossibilities, making him the Schrodinger's cat of emotional connection. Since we can't really see inside, he both feels and doesn't at once. Dan Harmon, the show's co-creator, points out the duality at the root of Rick's character.
The planet is dying, the sun is exploding, the universe is cooling, nothing's gonna matter. The further back you pull, the more that truth will endure. But when you zoom in on Earth, when you zoom into a family, when you zoom into a human brain and a childhood and experience, you see all these things that matter.
These comments reveal a key insight, that the secret to finding meaning in our lives isn't actually about what we know or don't, or understanding some truth.
Unity, I am so sorry. I didn't know freedom meant people doing stuff that sucks. I was thinking more of a choose-your-own cell phone carrier thing.
It's about what size view we take, what we choose to focus on. So if the key is really about how we look at things, then finding meaning is a choice. Rick's arc isn't really a prolonged search for meaning, though. It's a back and forth between finding meaning in his love for family and then rejecting it, because he can't reconcile that with his knowledge of the vastness of the universe. This duality and fluidity and changing his mind are what make Rick such a fascinating character.
I just got bored. Everybody out.
His behavior can go unexplained, and his personality can go rogue, depending on his mood and the context. The choice is a rejection of typical narrative structures, in which a character must move permanently in one definitive linear direction. So far, the show's creators consciously avoid giving Rick a backstory, except for that fake backstory he concocted, so as not to reduce his complex character to a flat explanation. Even if we learn more, it's doubtful they'll ever take Rick out of this constant state of flux. Most importantly, this lack of resolution mirrors real life. What we feel and how we act changes from year to year and day to day. We can't always explain our own behavior. We certainly don't know each other's character arcs, and we can go through cycles of despair and happiness, connectedness and loneliness. We've all at some point lost and found meaning in our lives, and then lost it again and then found it again. So we can all relate to the true answer to this question. Has Rick changed? The answer is yes, and he'll continue changing on and on with no comforting certain end in sight.
Oh, Jesus.